My name is Kelly Amos, and I'm a fitness and nutrition specialist. And today, for your tiny health tip, I have a guest. This is Gunnar, my son, and Gunnar is home for the weekend, and he goes to University of Idaho. He's a junior, and he plays football there. I wanted to talk to Gunnar for this week because we've been talking about, or I've been talking about, picky eaters and just different things as far as nourishing your body. And Gunnar grew up in a home that we really did focus on nutritious food, and there were some limitations. We didn't eat out much. We always had home dinners, home cooked meals, healthy food, and I just wanted to ask Gunnar a few questions about what he remembers about growing up. You know, what are some things that you remember that you just didn't like very much about how you were raised when it came to food and stuff?
I'd say there was definitely times going over to a friend's house and seeing how much sort of snacks and sort of easy to go foods that they had around the house that we never really had. Things like sugar cereals, white bread, some simple things like that weren't really common things we had in our household very much, that I sort of missed out on a little bit.
Was there ever a time where it was embarrassing for you that you weren't allowed to have those things? And it's not like you never had them. Mm-hmm. I mean, you were totally deprived. But
definitely had my fair share of treats growing up, but there was a few times where it was a little embarrassing just because when I was younger, I remember you guys said I wasn't allowed to have soda. And I was at a friend's house one time, and everyone was drinking soda. And you said if I ever wanted one, I had to call you and ask. And so I called you and asked, and you said you can have half a soda. And I actually drank half the soda. And I remember all my friends started making fun of me just because I had to call and ask for a soda. And then I was only allowed to drink half the soda, and I couldn't even drink the full soda. So I got made fun of a little bit, but nothing too bad.
And I apologize about that. I remember a time that he called after he'd been at a friend's house from like a Friday after school, and it was Saturday afternoon, and a slumber party or something. And he called and asked if he could have a soda. And I said, Gunnar, I don't know. I haven't been with you for 24 hours, so I don't know what you've already eaten, so whether you can or not. And I remember you pausing for a minute and saying, no, I can't. And so I was so proud that you could look back at what you had done and known that we did allow him to have it, but it was not like he wasn't allowed to have this overload. Again, birthday parties and all that kind of stuff. It's not like we never had junk food.
Yeah, we still have junk food.
Yeah, we still did. But
still in America.
Is there a time as you were growing up that you, like, whether it was an age or just when you started to notice and appreciate that notice a difference and that you kind of liked it better? Or
yeah, I'd say when I was younger, I sort of despised it a little bit, but as I started getting older and getting a little bit more involved with training for football and lifting weights and running, and that's when I really started to try to focus on nutrition, making sure I was getting everything I could get out of my workouts and sort of be the best athlete I could be. And then also, once I got to college, and you start to see how people eat on their own and how they cook on their own, and definitely having a general knowledge of what's good for you and what's bad for you, and that you should eat vegetables every day and make sure you're not over-consuming in, carbohydrates and sugars and stuff like that, and having sort of a balanced diet, and being consistent with your balanced diet definitely helped out. See a lot of kids that want to eat well but don't really know how to, and growing up in our household, I definitely was able to see how I should eat and see things I could do better, and see things I'm not good at.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So Gunnar's lived a semester in the dorms, and then last year in a house with a bunch of guys, and it was a disgusting mess.
So messy.
And now he's in an apartment where he has, you know, a kitchen and buys his food. He has no limitations. And so for about a year and a half, he has
being broke.
got a mom pretty close by.
Yeah.
So he's lived through really every part of being a college, you know, student, and access to food, living in the dorms, dorm food. And what would you say as far as if you could give parents advice? First, let's go with, you know, people who they're what should they teach their children as far as when they first get on their own? What are some things that you think are important that you don't see a lot of?
Just the basics of having a balanced nutrition, of getting your vegetables in. Really, there's so many people that don't like vegetables because they didn't really grow up eating vegetables. But once you have had enough of them, you start to acquire a taste for them. So, and then just general cooking knowledge, I guess. Just being able to make simple foods can be pretty easy, but a lot of people don't really know how to cook, so it's definitely helpful to be able to make your own food rather than spend money on eating out and stuff like that.
I remember Gunnar's first couple weeks living in his house last year telling me one of his roommates didn't even know how to boil water. The directions on the mac and cheese said...
You can't throw him under the bus like that. He might see this.
No, this is Dave. I love Dave, but he didn't know how to boil water. He didn't know that when it boils, what it looks like, and probably because he'd never boiled water before. Everything that he'd made has either been, popped in the microwave to heat up because his mom had done the cooking for him, or it was a package or something. And so those are things that you don't really realize, I think, as a parent, that even when you're feeding them well, to teach them how to feed themselves well and teach them cooking skills and just basic skills and flavorings. Gunnar really does love to cook.
Sometimes.
So what about growing up and how you were raised? I'm not perfect. I've only had 2 children, so I don't get this second run at it. But other people,
second run, you don't get a third run at it. You did better on the first run, by the way.
So, if you could give some advice to people out there, and that might be against, what could I have done better? What are some things that we did that were really good that you think, and what are some things that you would give me some advice on?
I would say maybe just a little bit more freedom when I was younger, just to sort of make my own decisions on what I wanted to eat. But then again, I think it was good because now I feel like I have a pretty good mindset on how I need to eat. But there's definitely times when I was younger, I was like, I just felt like I had rules on eating that none of my other friends had. And I guess it's good in the long run, but I think a little bit more freedom would have been nice. Mm-hmm. Or maybe just like having some Cinnamon Toast Crunch in the house every once in a while. Or sour cream. You need sour cream. You never eat sour cream. And
okay, you guys would get a box of sugar cereal for Christmas. Seriously,
that's 1 box a year. I go through a box of cereal in like 3 days.
So, I've totally enjoyed this, probably more than anybody else. I hope that this was helpful for you, and Gunnar, I want to thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate it a lot.
Get dinner because of it.
And dinner is on me.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for watching. Please share your comments and anything. Hey, Gretchen. Have a great weekend, and thanks for watching. Thanks for sharing, and I will see you on Monday.
Follow me on Twitter.
Follow me on Twitter.